Let's get started. We're going to start today with balanced to dry skin types. Now remember, this is my summertime warmer months routine. During the other months, I just go in with my skincare, but remember, my skin type is balanced to dry. So my skincare is usually what I do, but when it gets this warm, I kind of do different primers, different skincare on different parts of my face. I just want to preface that. This is for summer. And one last thing before we get into it, I'm sorry there's so much talking, but there's so much information. My skincare routine is on my saved highlights. You obviously don't have to use the products that I use there, but the order that I use them, that's important. First thing I'm gonna do is kind of fill of my face. Remember, I already have my skincare on and I've let my skincare sink in for quite some time. You have to let your skincare sink in or your makeup is just going to go everywhere. It's not going to set properly, it's not going to wear properly. You have to let skincare dry down. All right, IG's giving me issues here. Hopefully this comes through. So even though I'm balanced to dry, I live in a very humid climate. Where I live off the coast, and it is it can make it really humid. Remember the little alligator I showed you? That's proof that I live in a very humid, swampy climate. Since I live in a humid climate, and even though I'm balanced to dry, I like to use just a dot, a smidge, a kiss of mattifying primer. This one right here, I've used about 3 times. Yeah, about 3 times. I'm loving it. It's one of my favorite mattifying primers. It's better than the Makeup Forever Shine Control. This one is so good. It's so good. And I know you're thinking, okay, well, you're balanced to dry. Why are you using a mattifying primer? Listen. I only use, let me show you, that much. Do you see that? Just that much. And I'm gonna grab this on my Anissa Beauty eye treatment brush. Actually, this is the spot treatment. And I'm only gonna apply it where I know I'm gonna get extra shiny because I basically live under the sea in a pineapple with SpongeBob. So I'm gonna apply it through here, a little bit over here. I'm gonna stop it about right there and around my nose, and then I seem to get shiny through here. And again, it's not that I'm oily, it's the climate. And just a little bit of this is gonna go a very long way. And that's enough. Now again, look at how that mattified. It's so good, but my skin doesn't feel, it doesn't feel tight. It doesn't feel overly mattified. It just feels like I'm not going to be a big, shiny, humid, dripping ball of chaos later. Now, matte primer dries pretty quickly. Look how mattifying that is. Can you see that on my hand? I don't think you can. Yeah, you can. You can see it there. That's really cool. It's so mattifying and it doesn't move. Love it. What I was going to say before I got distracted, because I just love all forms of makeup, is that you might think that this is dry, but at least give this a minute. Give it a minute to dry. I know, but dry time is so important. It's so important, and it's one of the reasons that our makeup separates, doesn't last, and just won't go on correctly. It's important. I wish somebody would have told me. Right, we're gonna talk about different primers for different foundation formulas. We are deep diving. We're deep diving into this. I have the time. So normally in the warmer months, I gravitate towards powder foundations. And even though I'm balanced to dry, it's my skin prep that allows that. Now, let's do, oh, this is why I have 2 sides of my face. This is why. Goodness, I love what I do. So I'm gonna show you how I prep. So I would always wear the mattifying primer, but if I'm gonna do a liquid foundation over here, I would do something different. And then if I was gonna do powder foundation, I would do something different. So let's go. So for powder foundation, remember, I'm balanced to dry. So I know a lot of you are thinking, Rose, you've lost your mind. What are you doing? Powder foundation is just gonna make us look dry, Kraken, looking absent, kind of like the Kraken. Do y'all know what the Kraken is? Pirate, squid, getting people. I'm sorry. This is not a comedy show. Keep it together, Rose. So what I like to do is niacinamide serum. this one. This one is still my favorite. It's wonderful. I love the way it wears underneath makeup, and with powder foundation, you need this. So I do one pump. I'm gonna do half a pump because remember, I'm just gonna do one side of my face. So on this side, I'm gonna do the powder foundation, and I'm gonna act like we're doing that. We're just gonna avoid here where we put the matte. I do like a little extra underneath my eyes, just a little. I should do it, and then I'm just gonna use whatever's left and just place this where we did not place the mattifying primer. Again, we have to let this dry down. Look at how pretty that is. Under powder foundation, it's absolutely magical. A little bit here. If you have smile lines, so if you have smile lines, you would want to apply the niacinamide serum on the smile lines. You want to definitely keep that area hydrated. And if you're wondering why I use brushes to apply skincare, it's because one thing, it's magical. Another thing, I feel like my hands absorb product, and it's kind of one of the reasons we use makeup brushes. So if you're thinking, I'm gonna just use my hands, I mean, remember, we do use makeup brushes, so I think we should use skincare brushes. I really like them. I've been using them now for years for face masks, skincare, serum, everything, definitely primers, and they make a difference. I really like them. Okay, again, let that dry down. We did apply a very thin layer, so 2 minutes will be just enough. If you have longer, please, but I know we're always in a hurry, but it's best to just factor in that time instead of trying to apply powder on top of this or even liquid, and then it's just streaking, and then we have to wipe it off, and then it takes twice the amount of time anyways. Okay, now on this side of my face, I don't want it to be quite as hydrated as the powder, so I kind of go back and forth between these two. This one is from Laura Geller. It's fantastic. It feels like a gel, but it's hydrating enough. You can kind of see it, and then you'll see how it feels like a gel. You can't see that. Gosh, I wish you could. But it sinks in, and it's not quite as grabby as the niacinamide serum. Again, if you're extra dry, I would always recommend this, but I lean towards balanced, but I still want something there to kind of grab and to hydrate, so I love this one. And then I've talked about this one in the past. I have a wear test. It's just amazing, and it's very much similar. I'm gonna say that this one is, there it is. This one is maybe a little less hydrating, which is not a bad thing. It just depends on how my skin feels. I feel like I'm gonna go with the Youthforia today because my skin does feel really nice. Also, it's raining outside, which factors in more humidity. It's really about being in tune with your skin. I know that sounds very, very creepy. But if I just kind of see what the weather's like, see how my skin feels, if I've been drinking enough water, it kind of dictates which primer I'm going to use. Also, I was putting it on my hands and arms just to kind of determine which one, because I didn't want to kind of waste this space and then put on 2 different primers and complicate things. But I'm showing y'all my faves. I'm gonna go ahead and use the same brush because these bristles, they actually don't absorb all of the product, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna use half a pump because I'm only doing half of my face. And I also like this one. Okay, another bonus is this one actually takes down my redness. So if you have redness in your cheeks, wait for it to dry, and it actually really takes down the redness. Just depends. And I just got a really great question. Somebody asked about dry, patchy, flaky areas. Niacinamide serum. Let's say that I had some on my nose. I would put that much. You can see that on the brush. And then I would just really coat the area. Really, 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 really coat it. This is what I do when I have a dried blemish. Works like a charm. So just grab a niacinamide serum wherever you're extremely dry, or if you have a dry patch, just kind of go over that area and then let that dry down, but you're kind of just soaking it. So this is now the time when we would do any kind of color correcting that might be needed. For me, I'm going to do a little bit of redness color correcting. This is completely optional. Our foundation could cover it up, but if you have rosacea or if you want to talk about dark circles, this is where we would do that step. I'm going to show you just a little bit. I'll show you just a little bit. Now I have an entire IGTV on color correcting. I'm not going to go too in depth. This one is one of my faves, and you can see that it's green. It's from Wyra Cosmetics, super affordable, just that much. I'm going to grab this same little brush that we have here, and I'm just going to work it exactly where I have my redness. That's why I want a tiny brush. Kind of tap it around till it's nice and smooth. You can see it's starting to correct that. Again, this step is optional, but I just want to show you where all the steps would go. And if we were going to do under the foundation color correcting, remember there's a little bit difference. Pink is going to be a brightener. Pink is going to go on top. If it was to go under, your actual concealer color would just cover it. So again, I'm just showing for demonstration. Peach is going to go underneath. This one's from Exa. And we'll just do a little bit. Ooh, that's a nice peach. I already know I love this formula. So we'll go ahead and put this underneath here. I have a super in-depth video that if you read the caption to it, no matter your skin tone, it'll talk about it. But we'll just put a little bit there. Easy peasy. The powder foundation side, I'm just going to go ahead and go in with my concealer. I'm just going to wear concealer underneath my eyes, but if you have any blemishes and you want to just add a little bit extra concealer, this is the time to do it. Do it before you add any powder. Anissa Beauty Angle Concealer Brush. Just go ahead and work this in. Even on the powder side, I'm going to take my puff and I'm going to use my Givenchy powder today. And I am going to set that. Remember, loose powder is different than pressed powder, and for me, I prefer it underneath my eyes because it's more finely milled. Okay, we're going to grab our viral Rose and Bim Beauty C41. Can't believe it. And I'm going to be using my Baked Balance and Brighten from Laura Geller, and I'm just going to start to press this in. Remember, we're only going to do half of our face with the powder. Isn't that pretty? I love this powder. I bought this, I guess, a year and a half ago, and I did a review, and I bought it myself, and I just thought it was so magical. I was so skeptical, but if you pair this with niacinamide serum as a primer, for me, this is what I wear most days. If I'm just running errands and going out, this is it. It's so beautiful. And I'm never one to put pressure on any of you, but Danessa Myrick's, she debuted her blurring powder bomb last week with this brush, and y'all kind of went feral over it. I understand why, but it hasn't even released yet. Her blurring bomb hasn't even released, so I feel that once it releases, this is gonna be gone. So if you are thinking about it, now's the time. So with that niacinamide serum underneath the powder, look at that. And it doesn't feel tacky, it doesn't feel sticky, but it just looks like skin, but blurred. Now on this side, I would then add powder bronzer, powder blush. I would keep everything powder, but this is it. Now we're gonna move over here. So on this side, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this foundation, the Sephora Best Skin Ever. I'm trying to really go back and forth between affordable and high-end. I would definitely consider this affordable, and if you really want affordable, I love the Makeup Revolution, but I just need to go buy a darker shade. Summertime. Especially living where I live now. I love it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dot this here. And then I did switch my brush, so I have a C41 for liquid and then a C41 for powders. So I'm just gonna go ahead and melt this in. So pretty. And like I said, this is what I do. I always switch back and forth between liquid foundation and powder foundation, but you'll notice I kind of started with a smaller amount. And then I'm gonna dot some here. Y'all know the drill. I forgot to mention the color I'm wearing in this. I'm wearing 23.5P. It's such a good color. I love this foundation. And I know I talk about this a lot, but even with the powder and the liquid, make sure that you're really just bouncing and pressing that into the skin. you won't get any streak marks. And you're not gonna move the primers, the skin prep, the color corrector. So this is always the best motion. Okay, so from here, you know, the concealer, I said that, you've seen that routine 1,000,000 times, maybe 1,000,002. And if you have, thanks for sticking around, I love you. I also wanna mention that tomorrow is Tutorial Tuesday for Danessa Myricks, and she will be talking about this brush once again, and last week it almost sold out. So I'm thinking that this week it's a possibility, and I want my story film to always be the first. So I'm only saying this, now if it was me, we would be fine, but Danessa's supporters they're fanatics, and Danessa knows her stuff. So she will be talking about this because she's gonna be talking about her blurring balm. So I just want to tell y'all again, the brushes. Yeah, that's enough of that, but that is gonna happen tomorrow. I know that for a fact, and I just wanted to tell y'all. Now let's talk about setting sprays. I don't really use them. I find that unless I know I'm going somewhere and I need to be absolutely full glammed, I'm talking brighteners, concealers, flippers, and floppers. Things laughing at me. I don't use setting spray. Now, I'm gonna recommend one, but for me, the one I'm gonna recommend is something that I would use when I need my makeup to stay. Now let me show it to you. This one sold out the last time I talked about it. It's absolutely wonderful. It's heavy, heavy, heavy duty. And for our day-to-day lives, even if we're wearing our makeup 8 to 9 hours a day, we can usually, especially with the types of makeup that we normally wear from day to day. But if you need your makeup to last, this right here, it's not going anywhere. It's just not gonna go anywhere. But like I said, it's very heavy duty. It feels very comfortable on the face, but with the type, say if I'm just gonna wear this powder foundation, I wouldn't need this type of setting spray. But again, if I'm just doing my regular makeup, kind of lightweight, I don't even worry about setting spray. My makeup wears fine for 8 hours, 9 hours. But if it's prom, if it's a wedding, if it's a special occasion, that setting spray. I will say I find that with most setting sprays, my makeup doesn't wear as well. It just makes it wet and it makes it wear a lot faster. So yeah, that's what works for me. So I think that that's about it. That's what I do for both my powder foundation and my liquid foundation. Again, y'all know I would set my under eye. Just watch any of my saved highlights. That's what I do for the liquid foundation. Tomorrow we'll talk about combination, and then we're gonna do oily, and then we'll do sensitive. And off the top of my head, if I'm forgetting one, please forgive me. I will go research. Don't ask me what these fingers are, but they made the point. I love you all so much. I'm so excited for this week. I wanted to do something that can include and help everyone. Not that my spicy out of control eye tutorials don't, but every once in a while, I like to mix it up. In fact, tonight's tutorial is gonna be a little bit, or I should say tonight's post is gonna be more educational. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the comments tonight.